So why should I care if someone gets infected? They brought it on themselves. They're guilty of bad behaviors, wild sex, IV drug use. They're guilty of breaking our rules. Then they deserve whatever comes to them. Just like with car insurance, if you're a reckless driver, you have higher rates than someone who is a careful driver. As a society, we should test everyone, register everyone who's tested positive, and then ship them off to some faraway land. Let those folks who live on the wild side, let them take care of themselves. They did it to themselves. Then let them figure out how they're going to pay for it. It's not my problem. Wrong. You couldn't be further from the facts. This very perception is wrong. If you want to spread a disease even quicker, deny folks their human rights. So how can you tell if someone's infected? Do they change color? Is there a label on their head? Do they have horns on their head? Every day, thousands of people become infected, and many of them never even know they've been exposed. So how can you tell who's infected and who isn't? Words from above. It's easier to discriminate against someone's skin color, their origin. The bottom line is that discrimination is about denying people their human rights. The real problem is fear. Fear of the unknown. It is easy to believe that if I live the good life, follow the rules, and attend church, that I'll never become infected. It's easy to condemn someone who is different, and then to find out that that person is infected. That only reconfirms the perception that only bad people become infected. Then to openly condemn someone who is infected, why should they come forward and tell someone, anyone? Because they want to lose their job, their self-esteem, their health care, is told that they and their children deserve to be isolated from society? No way. Who in their right mind would seriously want to lose everything that they had, not only for themselves, but their children? For those who have become infected face the ultimate fear, death. Their world has just collapsed around them, and then they are condemned by society. Their world has been turned upside down. What plans they had for the future have changed in an instant. They must now deal with the fears that many of us never even dream of in our worst nightmare. The end of everything that they now know has just occurred. So why should I care? Whether you know it or not, you too are at risk. You can become part of the solution or become part of the problem. By promoting hate, you instill fear amongst people. They do not want to be tested because then they are afraid of being discriminated against. If they are tested positive for the disease, and then fear of isolation. Being isolated breeds resentment from the non-infected and infected people alike, and this can lead to anger and rage in both communities. The bottom line is that those who know that they are infected will just go underground. Not every source of income from a source can be monitored. In every society, people live away from the scrutiny of government rules and regulations. The government or the authorities will not find everyone, so there is no way that a society can find everyone who is infected. Throughout history, every infectious disease has gone through this cycle of discrimination. From the Black Death, cholera, leprosy, mental illness, people can live in fear and chase shadows, or they can educate themselves about the disease instead of following some dogma. Once the general public is educated about a disease, then they can help reduce the number of people who are at risk for the disease. If education does not occur, then the disease will continue to grow larger with each passing day, and more people will become infected and will run and hide away. By denying what has occurred in the past, we end up reliving it in the future. People with all types of mental illness have been discriminated against since the beginning of time. They have either been cursed or revered by society. The norms of society, whether it is based on religious beliefs or cultural values, those who are different from the norm have been and are discriminated against, either as marketing ploys by some organization or methods of controlling the general population. This marketing campaign is based upon the concept of good people versus bad people, innocent versus guilty. This is about selling an idea to the general population as to why they need to respond in such and such manner. With a disease, any group or person can be singled out and condemned by society because no one needs any actual proof. Once this discrimination begins, those who are infected will avoid all association with any part of that disease and that group. This includes being tested. If I'm not tested, then I'm not infected, and those who are uninfected will avoid being tested because of the likelihood of being associated with this guilty group. Today in China, a campaign of segregation is occurring against people who are infected with hepatitis B. No outrage from the global community is occurring as people are stripped of their human dignity just because they are infected. They are ostracized, condemned to live lives without hope. The global community has known of this situation for several years, but no words condemning this action from any of the world leaders. This action from the Chinese government is in fact a form of genocide against their own people. Genocide by depriving someone of employment, restricting educational opportunities, intentionally trying to destroy a group of people does fit the definition of genocide. When people begin associating a disease with a group of people, we then have a problem of discrimination. If a person has AIDS, he must be gay. Having hepatitis is a sign that a person must have used IV drugs. Having lung cancer, that person must have smoked during their lifetime. Every public health association worldwide needs to know the extent of any and all infectious disease. If the disease is forced underground, no one will really know what is happening internally within that society. Depending on the disease, the urgency of knowing the full extent of a disease's growth throughout a culture is hampered by the level of discrimination that those who are infected face. More importantly, offering free, non-judgmental medical care is essential in stopping the spread of any disease. The end result is that the community will not only be safer, but that those infected will seek out medical help and be treated. We all win. It is a win-win situation.